Hey, it's Shade, Casual DM. Hope you're doing well. I got a video today that's going to help out some of those DMs that just have those players that they're there, but they are not there. This is going to be some tips and tricks to keep your players engaged with the game during the playing setting, as well as throughout the week or 2 weeks between your sessions. I have 3 different tricks that I use that have been working wonderfully and have led to some amazing gaming experiences within my own table and group. Hopefully you guys can use some of these. Maybe you already do this as well at your table. If not, hopefully you get a good use out of this. Again, I got 3 tips coming your way. Stay tuned. So being engaged isn't always about paying attention and taking notes. Have you ever been at a table? Whether you're the game master or you are a player, and it seems like every week is a chore. It seems like when you play, it just feels like you're, having to remember what happened last session. Your character doesn't really seem to be plugged into the story, so it's just kind of easy to be plugged out or checked out. And that's apparently super common. I've definitely felt it, as a player from time to time. It's a little bit more difficult to have that sort of reaction as the game master. So I thought of a couple of different ways, maybe some tips that could help elevate your game and bring better attention to detail and more engagement from your players. Tip number 1. Freaking read their backstories. Seems pretty obvious, right? But these players that are sitting here and committing to spending time with you, they already created a cool character, right? Probably has some nuance and probably has some, awesome backstory and filler content that you can use if you just take the time to read it. A lot of these characters, by the time you even get to use some of their backstories, maybe forgot what they wrote too, and it's a fun refreshment for them. You bring in a parent that they forgot they wrote about into the story in their game that they get to play with and mess up and break, they have a fun time. I'm telling you, you can do anything. And when you have multiple players at your table, that means you can have multiple backstory pools. You can even cross-contaminate. You can take a piece of backstory with one of your characters and then take a piece of backstory with another character and have those two, connecting outside of their game life. And, it just builds this cool factor of you never know what me, the game master, is going to throw at you, the player. And, man, that's a cool way to keep people engaged and always thinking about what else are they going to do. It makes everyone start to reread their backstories before every session. Like, if I'm going to start describing somebody that they gave me the description for that I'm using. Great example of this with that cross-contamination reference is that in my game, my Morrogas game, I have a backstory of one of my players who had to abandon his daughter at a young age. And another one of my players just so happened to put in their backstory that their mother went missing and, died when she was a young child. Well, I took those two and kind of morphed it together, where the mom didn't die. She went missing, but she didn't die. And that little girl that was abandoned, for her safety, she ended up being under the wing of the mom that disappeared. And so now my players are like, wait a second. They've been being raised as like a mom and daughter situation, and both of them are like, I had to give up my daughter, and she's like, I was raised without a mother, and now they get to roleplay and interact with it. Again, most of my games are very roleplay heavy. Again, it's very thematic and cinematic, the way that I like to build the games. And so this was great, right? This was a bomb that got dropped and everyone lost their minds. It was really fun. And they are still dealing with it to this day. And this was like over a year ago in real life when this first got dropped. So things like that, right? Read their backstories, bring some of that information into the game and let them play with it. That's why they put it in there. They were hoping you would. So do it. Tip number 2, create a easy to follow but intriguing story. And those are two separate tips, kind of looped into one here for a reason, right? It's very important. If you make it too complicated, right? If it's too complicated, people lose interest. Great example of that, Witcher Season 1. Everyone that I talked to, even Witcher fans, were like, oh, it was awesome, but it's kind of hard to follow with the time difference, right? If you haven't seen the show, maybe you don't understand, but they're filming it at different points in Geralt's life, right? So, spoiler, there's different spots where, you know, he's pretty much always looks the same because he's a Witcher, but there's other characters that have, you know, fast forwarded 10 years or whatever the case, right? It's kind of confusing. Still a great story, but kind of confusing. So you can have an awesome story, but lose some of your audience and engagement by creating too much complexity to it. But also, you want it to be a good story, something people can sink their teeth into. And so, I know it sounds easy to say, right? Just make a good story. But that's your job. That is your whole job here as a DM, is to create the space where your characters can kind of sandbox and create the story. Now, there's some DMs that are going to say, I don't do anything, I just place the setting and my players dictate it all. That's awesome, right? If that's how you want to play your games. I definitely steer the cart, right? I put all of this cool fun stuff for them to play with over here, so I will give them a reason to go there, right? I'm not going to say, so you guys all wake up in the morning and start heading off to this city, right? Don't do that. That's what they call railroading. No player wants to feel like they don't have a choice in a game that's all about choices. So, you know, you tell them, hey, you just got note that this city over here is having a big diamond sale. Get your diamonds 3 for the price of 1. I don't know, fucking whatever you want to do, right? But you have them go where you want, because that's your story you're trying to build. You want to keep your players engaged, give them something fun to do, right? They go diamond shopping, right, in that scenario I just made up on the spot, but maybe when they get there, the reason that they were drawn in is not because of a diamond sale. Maybe someone's been telling everyone that there's these diamonds 3 for 1, and so people are coming from all over the towns and cities, and everyone's coming here because they're trying to, you know, create an army of the dead, and there's some necromancer who's trying to get everyone in one place. I don't know, I just came up with that right now, but that would be kind of a cool little side quest. And then also, while they're there doing that side quest, give them something that could link to their main story. Always have little ideas and trinkets and things like that that link to the main story. Always keeps them going forward. They never are like, well, what do we do now? Because that's how you lose engagement. If someone doesn't know what to do, and they're a little more shy and not as forthcoming with role-playing, don't sandbox that. Don't tell them, well, what do you want to do? They're going to say, I don't know, whatever they want to do. Like, I'll go along with them, right? They're just going to hide on the coattails of someone else's decision-making, and all the while they're losing engagement into the game. So make it interesting, keep it simple, and steer the cart a little bit if you need to. Just don't take away decisions. Just give them a couple of good options, and no matter what they choose, they go where you want. It's too easy. All right, tip number 3. And finally, the last but definitely not least, this one is to give your players something to do between sessions, or something to think about, keeping them engaged, mentally focused on the game. Now, I'm not saying every single day nonstop talk about it, right? No matter what it is, you're going to get tired of talking about it. But what just happened with my game in Marogast this last week really opened my eyes to how engaged your players are when they have something to do before the next session. You all know this feeling, right? That anticipation, that engagement is always the very highest before session 1, right? Between session 0, where you kind of talk about your next game and what the world's like and build characters, and then session 1, when the players get to talk about their characters and they first start to roleplay, engagement's at the all-time high right there, right? They are all locked in. They're excited to meet the new players and, like, new characters they've decided to make, and what is your class, what is your race, you know, where did you come from? They're trying to learn all this stuff. That's because their engagement's through the roof. But why? Well, because they just spent time working on it, just like you did. And so giving your players something to do between sessions is great. And I'm not saying every time, but a good example of what just happened in my Marlgas game. My players are wealthy. They just killed a blue dragon and took a piece of her hoard, right? So they took that money, they went into town, found a contractor, and told him to build us a mansion. And he said, okay, give me your money, right? But what I did is I gave the players almost complete autonomy to what they want to do. I said, you design your room. You tell me what it looks like. And then you're going to tell the players. You're going to be able to play DM for a little bit and describe the setting of your room. What's the bed look like? Are you overlooking the, do you have big bay windows, or, you tell me. And the engagement has been mind-blowing. This past week I've been getting text messages, phone calls, been getting 10-page documents from Google from my players about their rooms, and it is so we are all so excited to play again this weekend. So this is one that I just learned. Give them something to do, and it makes so much sense once you think about it, but I've never thought about it like this, and I don't think I've seen any videos of any other DMs talk about it either. So maybe those middle school and high school teachers were onto something by giving homework, but if it works, it works. But that's my third and final tip. All right, that concludes my 3 tips and tricks on how to keep your players engaged at the table. Now I'm really new to this whole YouTube thing, but I'm sure from watching other videos you understand that to get the channel to grow, you want people to subscribe and like your videos, and of course, I definitely appreciate that, but I want to earn it. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe 10 seconds into the video without learning anything. So if you made it this far and you feel like, this guy knows what he's talking about, or maybe you'd like to learn some more things about how to be a game master from a super casual gamer like me, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, share with your friends and see if they learn anything. Love to be able to grow this channel a little bit and maybe spread some of my knowledge and learn from you guys as well. So until next time, keep gaming.